is over, the memory may have faded a bit, so we will be reminded and given a summary of 3 minutes each. And after that is what I think the most crucial part of this evening. Ladies and gentlemen, you, the members of the House, will vote, and will be decided that whether indeed 1984 came 75 years too early. Jawhar, it's a pleasure that you start the proceedings as a member of the proposition benches for the motion. Thank you.
Good evening. Let me start by thanking Tolly Club for organizing this debate in such a wonderful manner, for inviting so many luminaries. And I would start by complimenting two of my good friends on the other side, Swapan Das Gupta and Deshnatan Nigam, two of my old sparring partners. They are a rare specimen in Big Brother's party. They're educated and decent. You don't find too many of them. Now, I'll decomplicate the subject. The subject reads like this, and dates and all that. In very short, 75 years ago, George Orwell had predicted the state in which we are. He had predicted a dystopian, authoritarian surveillance regime, and we are in it. It is not that we are in it today, but the topic is for today, so we will. What is this dystopian Big Brother scene? There are various elements. I'll pick up only 4 and leave it to the wise audience to take a call as to whether these 4 characteristics of 1984 of George Orwell matches with our situation. The first is there is a leader, an infallible leader, a very visible leader, appearing everywhere at public expense in different forms of beard, in different dresses, which he never wears a second time. He is plastered everywhere. He is called the Big Brother. I had once suggested he is also there in your COVID certificates, and you got into lots of problems at airports saying that you don't look like this man. Okay, now in Parliament I had suggested, and sincerely suggested, it's on record, that since he's so visible, why don't we have his picture on death certificates as well? Since he's present everywhere, this Big Brother, except in urinals, maybe we could come up, and he has exhausted the entire alphabet in framing, Scrabble-type schemes that nobody remembers. He's played Scrabble with words, so why can't we have a scheme like this? PM's Integrated Sulabh Sauchalay, otherwise known as PISS, or maybe PMISS, whichever way. So the presence of this Big Brother is stupefying. And the whole thing is an exercise in what is called visual hypnosis. I would not like to let out a state secret, but psychiatrists and psychologists have often suggested it's very similar to something called obsessive narcissistic disorder. There are treatments for it. But the fact one is that George Orwell spoke of a person like this, an overwhelming and intolerant Big Brother. I guess it suits the bill. Number 2, control over history. Orwell had said, he who controls the past controls the future, and he who controls the present controls the past. Decomplicate. It means screw around with history. Do whatever you feel and pass it off as history. You can say Ganesh came out of plastic surgery. You had pushbacks, but we never can run a national airline. You can go on making as many claims as you want about Indian civilization. Listen, I am as proud of the great Indian civilization as everyone else, and I don't commodify it. I don't weaponize it. That's the only difference. You and I don't weaponize it. I am proud to be a part of the Hindu civilization that is greatly tolerant, like all of you. This mark shows our will. This mark shows how we have thrown out a man into a corner. But remember, he's not gone. He's back in saddle. So we go back to the characteristics. Number 2, control of history. The Mughals didn't exist. Where are the Mughals? Nobody's going to read about Mughals. Where's the Gujarat riot? Never happened. 1,000 Muslims did not die there. So control over history is what he's up to, like Big Brother did in 1984. In this year, in last year, and throughout, his history is what we call the history of WhatsApp University. Did you know we had such a great patriot that this English-speaking elite has hidden him from you? Did you know that this great son of Hindustan actually killed 7,932 British single-handed? Did you know that Shyama Prasad Mukherjee actually created West Bengal? Why, Shyama Prasad Mukherjee himself confessed that he read it in the papers next morning. He read it in the papers next morning of the Mountbatten Plan. It was all decided in the Mountbatten Plan of 3rd of June 1947, and Shyama Prasad left it. But then you say, Shyama Prasad created. So you go on giving half lies and half truths, and you can't figure out, because the difference between lie and truth, between that, that IT cell that they have in Rouse Avenue, it's 3 floors and full of professionals, none of whom have ever said truth in their lives. So they go on manufacturing, mixing up pictures, spreading venom and poison. Given a chance, they would like to turn back the wheel of history and throw out everyone, including the Parsis. Wapas jao, Iran. So this sort of a history, a distortion of history, the control over the past is an integral part of their thinking. And there is no further proof required. You can talk of any, as I said, nothing actually ever happened. All the time the theme is that Bangladeshis are coming and raping Bengali Hindu women all the time, morning, evening, night. They are on overtime basis. What nonsense. So whether you take it as history, and this is many people have told me. Every day I'm told on WhatsApp and social media. You can't stop them. I said, yeah, mujhe dikhao to pehle. Anyway, the third component, after, as I said, Big Brother and control of history, the third component is surveillance. The man is obsessive about knowing what is your underclothes look like. It's surveillance everywhere. And in 1984, the surveillance carries on. And imagine in that year, 49, he wrote about it. That cameras everywhere, including toilets and bedrooms, everywhere. And now we have a situation, something like that. And now I'll tell you, as a member of Parliament and as someone who's on the IT committee, some home truths. You and I usually use WhatsApp for phoning where the subject is a little sensitive. Why? Because we're all under the fear that somebody is watching us all the time. Now, 5 laws have been created where under these 5 laws, everything is under surveillance. Every word, every sign, signal, writing, text, sound, video, everything is under surveillance today under the Telecom Act, under the Press Registration Act, under Post Office Bill. They can open any packet they feel like, under the Data Protection Act. And all these 5 were hustled through by Big Brother by expelling 146 MPs in one of the most shameless acts in the history of democracy. The Cinematograph Act has also been amended. The whole idea is catch the 3 autonomous areas. OTT, where people watch. Catch the YouTubers like Deshbhakt, like Dhruv Rathi and others, and catch digital media. Last of all, including stand-up comedy. And last is the question of repression. Repression, people are, about 20,000 people are in custody today for months and years without trial under the stigma of UAPA.
Jawhar, we've got to wind up.
Okay. Thank you very much. So I think I've been able to prove all the 4 points of Big Brother, self-publicity, repression, surveillance. Thank you very much. If you
Jawhar, thank you. You took public sanitation to begin the round of 2-minute rebuttals. So rebuttal is important, so is the 2 minutes, and I will request Prosenjit that I've been under fairly aggressive cardiac assault with his shake hand distance with the second bell, so may he only use the first bell this time. Right, yes. The second bell has really got, it's a rather Orwellian bell at this point of time. So, Jawhar, you've been mentioned 3 times by Swapanda, so you are in debt. Please, serve your debt from the podium. Thank you.
Thank you all for wandering all over the place except the subject. Now, I'll start with my good friend, Mr. Deshnatan Nigam, who mentioned that draconian rule in India began in 1947 when Pandit Nehru assumed the chair of Prime Minister. I leave it to your conscience, your study of history, which has not yet been erased, to take a view of that. You mentioned something like bootlicking and R.C. Majumdar being told about bootlicking. But the same R.C. Majumdar, as a historian, was the first one to reveal the 3 letters that Savarkar, their ideological guru, the guru of Hindutva, had pleaded with the Viceroy, please let me go from prison and I will put all the Hindu right at your service. I am, sir, your most loyal servant. Quoted by R.C. Majumdar, talk of bootlicking. Third, you talked about 80 crore people being fed, etc. I don't think it is from Big Brother's pocket money or paternal money. It is your money and my money. So why go on taking credit? In spite of that, he lost majority. Jayaprakash said that we should be in a more positive state, and he mentioned something about short-term difficulty. I am sure he mentioned Big Brother as a short-term difficulty. I think we'll get him over. Swapan, as usual, has these colonial habits of talking of single malt. I don't know whether they have here. I'm sure they have. And he confessed that he is a reactionary. He could do that tomorrow morning on Sunday church. He mentioned about puja committees. Now, this is an obsession with him and his leader. Puja committees, there are no pujas here. What sort of a misinformation are you up to? 10% has to be on the payroll. Why 90% are on your bhakt roll? Why do you need paid people? And last, they always take it that what I call the cock and son mentality. The cock, I mean the hen's husband. The cock thinks that the sun gets up because it crows. Because it crows. Things happen beyond the vein. And what's happening today is a collective enterprise of the people of India. That's one semi-educated person whose certificate we don't know is taking full credit for. 1984 is here, and the sooner it goes, the better for all of us. Thank you, Jeff.
You agree, Mr. Nigam? Right.